most respected manager. I don't care what color you are. I think anywhere you go throughout the game, if you say the name Dusty Baker to any player, everybody drops their jaw on how much awe and admiration they have for this guy. Dusty, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for being our honorary manager for the East-West Classic.
Well, I'm honored and thrilled that you asked me. And, like I never really looked at myself as a manager, kind of. I just looked at it as an extension of being a player because I identified big time with the players. And, without the players, I don't have a job. Or without the players, I can not be successful in what I do. And so, I love the players. I realize that I'm not playing anymore. I haven't played in a long time. But, I just felt like an extension of you guys.
Yeah, Dusty, I think that's what's really beautiful about the game, and especially right now, bringing this East-West Classic together, it really does an amazing job in tying in all the generations of baseball into one game. So you have younger players, and then you have the veteran guys like Gary Sheffield, and then you have the legends like yourself who come around that really unites everybody, for one reason, which is what baseball is about, which is what, the East-West Classic game was about, which is what Rickwood Field was about. It's about tying all these generations in together. What are your memories of Rickwood Field or of stories that you've heard about the East-West Classic?
Well, my memories are playing there. And, I didn't know much about it until probably went there in 72, 73, and 74. I think we barnstormed there after we broke spring training. And we'd always go with the Baltimore Orioles because they were in Miami and we were in West Palm Beach. So we'd go to New Orleans, we'd play in Rickwood Field, we'd go to Atlanta from there, and they would go on to Baltimore. And so, it was great to hear the guys talk. And at that time, Frank Robinson was on the Orioles, and Paul Blair and Don Buford, and they had the young guys like Richie Coggins and Don Baylor. And on our team, we had Hank Aaron and, Rico Carty and Tommy Aaron and myself and Ralph Garr, along with Earl Williams and Oscar Brown. So we had both teams had probably 7 to 8 black and combination of black and Latin players on each team. And so, we took pride and what we had gone through. And when I look back on my career, I like to think that I, interwove, almost every generation. I was on the Braves with Hank, and I was on the Braves also with Satchel Paige. In 1968, I got called up by the Braves September call up, and I was hanging out with Satchel Paige.
Wow.
And that was awesome. And people were like, man, how old are you? Well, I was 19 years old. And then when I got to the Dodgers, we had Jim Gilliam, we had Roy Campanella, Don Newcomb that told us stories about Jackie. And then one time we went to St. Louis. I remember Jim Gilliam, asked me, did I want to go to dinner? Go to lunch with him. And I said, where are we going? He said, we went over to Cool Papa Bell's house. And, I was like on a fly on the wall, just listening to the stories. Some of them, I think they told some tall tales, some of them with lies, but some they were so entertaining that, I didn't care. And then, once they're having the, Negro League All-Star games at different stadiums at that time. And they all kind of gravitated towards me because they had heard about me from Hank and from Satchel and different players. And it was it was great to see guys that I had read about. My mother was a Black history teacher in California. And when you see and read, meet these guys, they're larger than life. And to find out what they went through to love of the game, to play, what they had to go through. And I came at the end of that era, when I went to Little Rock, Arkansas, and different places in the South, because all the Braves teams were in the South. Mm-hmm. And most of the Negro League players were in the South. And I sort of felt, a little bit about, how they felt when I couldn't stay in certain places, or I couldn't eat at certain places. We were in Little Rock, and Cito Gaston was my teammate. And he said, where are you going? And me and Ralph Garr. I said, I'm going to get something to eat. He said, no, you're not, man. He said, you get back on that bus and let the white players, bring your food to you at that time. So,
Dusty, how much does that change your perspective of the role of sports in bringing people together? The fact that your experience is so different from ours.
Well, that's great. At that time, the Blacks and Latins had to live together, and we couldn't, live with the white players. And the only way you had a single room is if there was an odd number of Black and Latins. They never roomed together, white guy and a black guy. And so being from California, I was more used to being, in an integrated kind of situation. Then when I went there, it was almost totally segregated on how we had to live and what we had to do. So I think baseball did a great job at that time of bringing the races together, bringing, that's why when I was a manager, I tried to have different foods, for different days of the week, different music, just different, to bring everybody together. And then it really helped, when I went in the military and I was in the Marines, and I got an even greater understanding of teamwork.
But how hard was that? I know growing up in Northern California, I mean, I got a chance to beat you 13 years old, and it really just changed. But growing up in California, and like you said, us being used to, integrating and everybody being together, how was that when you South as a teenager, leaving home?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Because see, at that time when I left home, it was 67, 68. This was when Vietnam was hot. This when peace and love was hot. This when, riots were hot. This is when, freedom marches were hot. And so, like, I was a bit confused about quite a few things. And I went to the South, and I really learned what it was like to be Black and to see as many Black people doing well, because you think that everybody in the South is like, uneducated and not doing well. This is what you're sort of taught at this time. And so when I went to the South, and it gave me a different perspective when I got back home, and I started noticing that some of the people I thought that were cool in California wasn't necessarily cool. They were just going about it a different way. So I prayed the day I was drafted that the Braves wouldn't draft me, because I didn't want to go to the South. And that was the best thing that happened to me, because Hank Aaron promised my mother he'd take care of me as if I was his own. I met Ralph Garr, met Cito Gaston. I met most of the civic leaders of that time. Jesse Jackson, Maynard Young, Andrew Young. And so that was, if you ask me, probably what was the most influential time of my life, this is when I went to the South and learned how to be a man.
Yeah, the influence that they had on your life, you definitely passed it down to the next generation. I remember plenty of times, anytime I come to town to play you guys, you play us, whatever it may be, it'll be a group of players meeting at whatever the closest soul food restaurant in town is. Yeah. We go meet up with Dusty and grab a bite to eat.
Man, I see you and Mrs. White's all the time.
That's right. We run into each other at Mrs. White's in Phoenix, Arizona. So
and then in Atlanta, I'd always go by Busy Bee. I was right by the Black colleges, universities.
That's right.
And so I still go to Busy Bee, and I run into a lot of the brothers there that played in the Negro League, or a lot of brothers that watch the Braves on TV, and I would honestly get my scouting reports from when as a player, who's hot, who's not. I remember one time they told me that Andres Thomas was hot and pitched to Dale Murphy. So I told Roger Craig this. I was a batting coach, and he goes, no. So we walked Dale Murphy intentionally. Andres hit a slam. Next time we did the same thing, hit another slam. And so I said, man, you need to listen to some of these dudes, these old dudes, because they watch baseball and they understood baseball. And I'm telling you, I use a lot of the things that, like I'd read in books as a manager. And there were some things I wanted to implement, but I don't think that, baseball in its modern sense and form was ready for it.
Yeah, well, I must say, Dusty, I'm sure I can speak for C on this as well. We look forward to having you out at Birmingham. I can see you talking shop. Wherever you are, there's going to be a group of players surrounding you at all times, just to be able to take in all of these stories and really reflect on what the Negro Leagues was. So thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to having you be a part of this event.
And listen, I'm proud of you guys. I'm really, really proud. The way Hank Aaron used to tell me he was proud of me and rooting for me, I'm equally or even more proud of you guys.
Well, yeah, that's awesome, man. Dusty Baker, everybody. One of the greatest to ever step foot on Rickwood Field was Willie Mays. And like I said earlier, Willie Mays would have been 94 years old today. So in honor of Willie Mays, we wanted to make sure to bring his son, Michael Mays, in with us to talk a little bit about Rickwood. Michael, good to have you on the show. Last year, exactly around this time, we were in Birmingham, and unfortunately, your father passed away at the time. But what I really remember about last year was how we turned it into a celebration. And it was really a beautiful event for everybody to be able to experience. What was your takeaways from last year, and how does it feel to be here again this year?
Yeah, exactly that. Thanks for having me on, guys. Last year was, tough day, but the same day you guys played, and, you kind of motivated me to come back down, celebration out of it. And it's important. I think what CeCe said too, I'm exactly with him, but, for me, they play the, whatever you want to call it, say hey game every year. But the East-West game is a good way to celebrate Juneteenth, and we down here right now trying to help Rickwood out. We're gonna get him a PA and some lights and stuff, and so we down here often. We just see you ain't here, but yeah, we're having a good time. And once again, I'm surrounded with the fellas. It's all good. He's with us.
What does that mean for you to get that love from so many guys? I know you said Torrey Hunter's down there, Jock Jones, Kenny Lofton, to know what your dad meant to so many of us, and the generation that came behind him.
Yeah, I mean, personally, it means everything to me, but it also speaks to the game and what we're talking about right here. His impact, scaffolding generation to generation. You guys are a special breed, and when you're a special breed, and a special breed, you know what I mean? So it's a different language, and he's the one that spoke to all of you. So it's incredible for me.
I mean, seeing that catch over and over again, seeing that catch never gets old, and understanding what's going on out there in Fairfield, Birmingham, Fairfield, to have the renovation happening at Willie Mays Park, what does that mean for the community of Birmingham and Fairfield?
Yeah, this is another project that everybody's been really helpful with. Thank you, MLB, and everyone involved, Jake, and all these people. This was a field that was done in the past. It needs some upkeep and some work. And like I said, we've generated some good monies. And on Juneteenth, there's going to be a ribbon cutting. So look forward to good work that we've all been doing down there. And yeah, this is about neighborhoods and kids and having places that they can go to. I know there's a lot of build it and they will come, but some of this building it where they are is what's up to.
It's amazing to see this continue to come full circle, to see the legacy continue to live on. I had the special opportunity of talking to Willie many times, and he shared all of his awards with me, all the MVPs, the Gold Gloves, whatever it may be, the All-Star games. Did he have conversations with you about what his most prized possession was out of all of them?
No, not because you guys, like he none of that stuff. If he's talking about what's important to him, he's talking about y'all.
I love it, man. Well, we're excited to be in Birmingham. I'm excited to see you again, Michael, and be able to chop it up with you. I'm so happy to hear that Major League Baseball has continued to keep their word on, continue to make an impact in the community of Birmingham, to keep Willie's legacy going on and on. And I think moving forward, last question from me, what would you like to see happen moving forward from this point on?
Frankly, man, I'm loving what I'm seeing happening. Like I feel momentum again. Big ups to CC and all the work he's doing. And this is what Dad does. To me, it comes down to that first generation. Our work and our organization. We're looking at you 7 to 12. But as you advance and start to get in levels and big decisions to be made, these are the kind of mentors you're going to need in your life. These are the kind of guys you're going to need in your locker room, in your clubhouse. And, so now y'all got the torch.
Yeah, well, I love it. It really, truly takes a village. And I know in addition with MLB, you have the Friends of Rickwood that are out there continuing to make sure the fields are kept up to date and make sure all the players out there in Birmingham have access to quality facilities to continue to grow the game and to continue to keep inner cities in the game. So thank you so much, Michael, for your time, and look forward to seeing you.
And also with that, shout out to Miles College and HBCUs.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.